They say we're always in motion. Everyone knows the saying that nothing stands still, but everything is always in a state of constant motion. So we can relate this to momentum building, whether we are building towards winning and strengthening our frame of minds to be stronger, more confident, more us, more genuine, or we are losing and stacking those loses and getting a losing streak going. Kind of like baseball. Baseball teams, when they go on a win streak and they're hot, and then all their players are clicking at once, bam, 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 bam. And you got to go on a hot streak and gain momentum to win the playoffs. That's how it works in baseball anyway. Every other sport, it's like you lose once, you're eliminated. There is no momentum. But in baseball, it's a perfect analogy because you got to get 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 games. You can't just win the one. You got to get the momentum, stack the wins to get there. All right? So we're either in a state of stacking wins and getting growth, like building muscles. And sometimes, just like building muscles, that requires breaking yourself down, like a mental breakdown, like going out there and stretching your range of expression. I was watching an Owen Cook course today, and he was talking about range of expression, expression of range of expression, and just doing that and being able to almost do it too much to where you're stretching your limits and seeing how high, low, in the middle, what your repetitive things that you're doing are. We all have repetitive little ticks that we do, right? These can be good things, these can be bad things. Just like habits can be good things and habits can be bad things. But speaking on stacking the wins, when you're winning, you can feel it. It's like a runner's buzz that you get, or like almost like when you smoke a joint and you get that buzz, or you're a little tipsy and you just don't care, so you're going out there and you're dancing on the dance floor. But you're gonna feel that completely stone cold sober. Most people, that's why they're doing different things to get out of state, whether it's drinking, whether it's smoking. That's my thing that I'm dealing with. But because of the fact that it gives you a sense of peace and security, tranquility, peace of mind where you don't really care. You can't do that yourself, so you have to rely on something else to do it. People can do it even without drugs. You can do it with soda, or like Netflixing and just coping with your environment. So you have to figure out how to get yourself into that winner effect. And you'll also feel when it's not happening, you'll feel that little demonic parasite talking away, that chitter chatter in your brain when you are going the momentum in the wrong direction, right? When you're starting to listen to that, then you're gonna start going the direction where you do these little things to try to look a certain way or feel a certain way in the moment or get the result. Like with sales, I can relate to this because you'll try to sound convincing on the call to get them to buy, but you doing that, they can feel the energy that you're giving off, and so they're less apt to actually buy than if you were to sit back and truly just, here's what it is, and do you want it or not? Let's see if this makes sense. But you have to feel it. So it's something that you feel intrinsically. Get like, I say like a buzz, like an emptiness of the mind, almost like when you meditate, when you're feeling really good. So it's hard to notice because you're almost so in the good feelings that you don't notice that you're in them. And then afterwards, you're like, wow, how did I do that? You're looking back like, wow, I was really feeling good. And it's hard to access it because you didn't know how you did it. So that's why those daily check-ins I talked about a few videos back, when you every day, you're like, okay, where am I right now? What am I feeling like? What's going on? You get the habit to check in with yourself, so then you catch yourself when you're derping, and you catch yourself when you're in the winner effect, which is also really cool because then you can see the patterns that got you there, right? So realizing what you feel isn't equal to your self-worth. I wrote this down because so many of us attach what we feel, how we feel, what's going on right now in the immediate second. Like, I'm angry, I'm sad, my life isn't going well, it isn't working out, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, I don't feel like doing that right now. Well, let's say if all the greatest had that mindset and they were to just stop training when they felt like that, obviously they wouldn't be the greatest. So you have to realize, even Jesus, right? I'm sure he didn't feel like going up to get crucified, that he even was so stressed out about it that he sweat blood. But even though he didn't feel like it, he knew he had to do it. So that's an extreme example, but I love extreme examples because extreme examples are gonna help you realize that it is life and that you can't avoid it. Once you realize you can't avoid it, you're actually at an advantage. I want to bring up another situation, another story that Owen Cook brought up in his course. There's this man that he's in a situation where he knows he's going to die in the next 5 days. Why is he at an advantage to you, over you right now? Well, the answer is because he knows the death date, so he can make changes vigorously and fast. Now, is it an overall advantage? No, but the advantage down deep to the soul to where he can be him and express. If you knew you were going to die in 5 days, what would you do? What would you say? Who would you be? How would you act? You know, that's an extreme example. You're not going to do all those crazy stuff that you just had in your head because some of that stuff is going to be crazy if you're going to die in 5 days. But you take the extreme stretch of that example and then you apply it to your life. And you go, well, what if I were to die in 5 days? I'm doing this. Kind of wakes you up. You know what I'm saying? Now, there was other stuff here. It all comes down to a basic frame of mind. Collaborative mindset versus competitive mindset. When you're in the collaborative mindset, it's like playing on the playground as a kid, okay? You're in your own world. If someone's not vibing with you, you don't care, you don't even think about it, you move on. Or like you just don't get attached to it. The competitive mind frame, you look at everything around you, you're trying to act a certain way, speak a certain way, be a certain person, and it just doesn't have the same effect as if you were to do it the complete opposite and just focus on the emptiness. It's almost like focusing on nothing, and you have to let yourself flow into it. It's like sleeping, right? Like it's like meditating and it's like sleeping. You can't try to meditate and you can't try to sleep. You just have to clear the mind and let life happen. Like when Kobe Bryant and LeBron James are making game-winning shots, they're not thinking, oh, I gotta move here, I gotta do that, ooh, swish, bam, it's gonna go in now. No, they're not doing any of that. What they're doing is they're so in the moment that they're letting the faith meets the actions, like the Bible says. Your actions and faith, your works and faith go together, because your works is like a physical example of you showing your faith. So Kobe making that basket is the physical manifestation of the mental plane in which he was flowing. It wasn't even that he was sure he was going to make the shot, because that would be thinking. He was just shooting. He was in it. He was having fun. He's flowing. He made it because of that. Now you can, just like with sales, you can make a sale without being in flow. Just like in sales, there's been plenty of times where, even now, you know, when I'm reading the script and I'm not in my flow, and I'll get the sale just because the person generally likes what I'm saying, logically, analytically putting it together, going, yeah, 2 + 2 = 4. I like 4. I'm gonna grab 4. So you might think that you did something, right? But in that situation, they were just, your result was that they liked the thing. It wasn't that you were effective in communicating it. Now, there will be other times where you can feel that you transferred that energy to them because you were able to effectively get through their frame, because your frame was so potent and powerful that they were like, oh, and they took notice. But in order to do that, you have to also not care about the result. In order to get the result, you have to not care about the result. In order to be at the buffet table, you have to look like you're not hungry. And it's hard because we're all hungry. We all want the buffet table, which is health, wealth, love, and happiness. You want the six-pack abs. You want to be in the best shape of your life. You want to have the most money that you've ever had. You want to have the best relationships, the best friendships, the best businesses, and whatever ventures that you're doing. But at the same time, you're trying to get it. So the act of you trying to get it is essentially, what you're doing is you're self-sabotaging yourself because you're trying too hard. When you try too hard, you do these little ticks that people actually notice subconsciously. They may not even realize it, but they don't like it. And they don't like your energy because of that tick that you're doing. So you gotta drop the tick, drop the stick. You know what I'm saying? That's the key to this whole thing, is dropping the stick. Not my gimbal stick, because I need that. But you have to slowly flow into it, like meditating or sleeping. Like breathing. You ever try thinking about breathing or blinking? Or just start thinking about talking words. It becomes hard. I mean, you just saw me mess up talking when I said thinking about talking words. Start really thinking about every word that you're saying and how I'm going to try to do it to myself so that you guys can see. I'm going to try to psych myself out. If I think really hard about what I'm going to say and I try to look really cool for you guys, and all of a sudden you see what I'm doing with my face or whatever, like it's overreacting. And that was just 5%, because actually I feel really good right now, so it's hard to do that when you're genuinely feeling good. But you get what I'm saying. If I was in the competitive mind frame, I would be so concerned about everyone looking at me and stuff. And sometimes those thoughts come in my head too. But then I immediately remember that that's a parasitic, demonic parasite trying to eat away at my brain and make me doubt. Because I got Jesus Christ in my life. And Jesus Christ is not a God of confusion. He brings peace and clarity and fruits of patience and understanding with yourself too. Not only with others, but you have to understand, you got to be patient with yourself. You can't expect an immediate result. Like I was saying, why you can't expect an immediate result is because everything happens with momentum. Everything is always in motion. So it's either in motion of going forward and growing, or it's deceasing and dying. Just like all of us are in motion to one day meet our day of death. But there's that one point where we're growing, and then we meet that point, and then we don't stay there, we start decaying. That's how everything happens. There's a point where this flower right here was growing, and then it'll reach a point where it starts to turn yellow and brown and decay. There is a momentum process forward and a momentum process backwards. There's never a point in which it stops and completely stands still. So you have to take that nuanced point and understand that you have to apply this to everything, because this is everything, okay? It's not just one thing or the other. You see it in everything in life. Even this little tower thing that was built right there, right? I'll take an extreme example. There was a momentum part where they were thinking about it, and then they had the idea, and then they decided to do it, and then they built the stones, and then they made it, and it looked good. And then ever since that day, it has declined until they clean it. And then the momentum process goes back to cleaning, and then it declines. Everything gets created and then gets old. So just like you're either going into good or bad. And that also means that you're not always going to be going into good. That's also what that means. Because if you were always going into good, well, I mean, then you would just ascend into freaking whatever it's called, enlightenment, you know, after a while. So you gotta realize that this is life. We're not perfect like Jesus Christ, so you will experience those crashes. Sometimes they're not always your fault, and that's why it's important to understand the true nature of this world, that you can't just manifest everything in this new age way. Because I'm not suggesting to you that you can just think positive and get $1 million or anything. But what I am suggesting to you is that if you think with a positive mind frame, of course, you're going to get more beneficial results, especially when it's a collaborative mind frame, meaning nothing that happens is like taken personally. That's basically all that means. Because as soon as you start taking it personally, that means that you're in competition with the other frame of mind. And if you're in competition, then one, you got to be right or wrong. It's all just keeping that constant reminder that there's this parasitic, demonic parasitic entity that will keep trying to shroud you in the doubts and keep trying to push you towards that negative momentum, that momentum that will take you away from the stride, because they know, okay, there's a spiritual element to this physical realm. They know that if you start getting good, you're gonna feel good. And if you really get good, you're gonna help other people get good. If you do that, well then obviously they all start going to the truth, which is, you know, Jesus Christ. So they don't want that. And that's a little stretch for a lot of viewers, but you got to understand this is how it works. You're either in positive momentum or negative momentum. The only reason we can't continue positive is because there are forces in this world that are messing with us. But we can battle back by having that frame of mind that, first of all, you know, Christ in you and the teachings of Christ can keep you safeguarded from living incorrectly, and then you keep in positive momentum. And when bad things happen to you, you know it's not because of you, and you know it's not God's will for bad things to happen to you, but you know that you just got to keep moving forward, even if it hurts, and it'll actually build your frame stronger when you realize that nothing can stop you. Because if your path is within God's will and you ask for it, God will grant it. But if you're asking with the wrong frame of mind, you won't get it. Or if you go at it with the wrong result, if you try to add 2 + 3 to get 4, you're gonna get 5. So if I go at it from a competitive mind frame, when I should be at a collaborative mind frame, you're gonna lose it. It's important to understand these things because they're unavoidable. You'll feel that hum. Search for that meditative hum, that it's almost like you just went on a run. You got a buzz, you're feeling good. When you get that, you're in flow state. Try to pay attention to what you're doing, the thoughts that you're feeling, and build on it from there. When you build on the momentum, your brain, your ego actually is gonna wanna keep you at that level, and then you'll actually start self-sustaining yourself. So that is it for today's video. Comment what you guys want me to talk about. I want each and every single one of you to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, one of them, over the week, and comment what you learned. I'm out.